Good morning. Today we are working on our next objective, CO2. I can write rational numbers as both fractions and decimals. So we talked yesterday about those categories, rational, integer, whole. Today we're working with those rational numbers being decimals and fractions and being able to go back and forth between decimal and fraction. So in addition to knowing the categories of our number system, it's also important to be able to write values various ways. For example, sometimes a value is better understood as a decimal, like when we're working with money and we want to know the cents. So we might have $2.75 instead of 11/4. How much do I owe you? 11/4. Oh goodness, don't make me do math when I'm buying something. Just show me the decimals so I know how many dollars and how many cents. It makes a lot more sense to do decimals. Or maybe we need a fraction like when we're cooking. If my recipe says that I need 3/8 cups of sugar, that's going to be a lot easier for me to measure out than if the recipe says I need 0.375 cups. That gets confusing because I don't have that as a measurement on my cups. Right, so when we're cooking, we want fractions, but when we're working with money, we want decimals. So we need to be able to convert back and forth. What does it mean to convert? So converting is to write a value a different way. So integers to fractions and decimals. An integer defined as a non-fraction and non-decimal can still be written as a fraction and a decimal. So even though it's not there, we can still write it by writing the integer as a numerator over a denominator of 1, or writing the integer with a decimal point followed by a 0. So examples would be if our integer is 4, that fraction would look like what? What would I write for a fraction? If my integer is 4, how do I make that a fraction? What did we just read, Finley?
You just put a 1 under it, or for the denominator?
Yeah, 4 over 1. If I want to take that integer of 4 and make it a decimal, what would that look like? Henry?
It would be just 4.00.
4.0, I can do 1, 0, 2. So you can take that integer and you can turn it into a fraction or you can turn it into a decimal. Another example would be -9. How do I make -9 a fraction? What would that fraction look like? Yeah?
9 over 1. Negative 9 over
Negative 9 over 1. So we talked about that with that homework yesterday. You got to keep that negative sign with it. When we convert from a fraction to an integer, that negative stays with it. How do I make that -9 into a decimal? AJ?
It would pretty much just be the same as the positive, but -9
Yeah, we just put that decimal followed by a 0. Keep it a -9. Don't drop off the negatives. I keep saying it because it's a common mistake that people make. So sometimes when you hear me repeat myself over and over and over again, you go, we get it. Keep the negative. I keep saying it because I know, I've taught this class enough times. I know the common mistake that students make. So when I keep saying something, that's when you think to yourself, oh, I need to really remember this. It's really easy to forget to put that negative sign on there. All right, now we want to go from a fraction to a decimal. We're going to write an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100, and the numerator is the decimal. So, our example is if our fraction is 4/5. So I say I want to write an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. So I want my denominator to be 100. How did I go from 5 to 100? Emily?
You multiply it by 20.
Yeah, I multiplied it by 20. 5 times 20 is 100. What do I have to do if I multiply my denominator by 20? Madeline?
You multiply the numerator
I
by
have to multiply my numerator by the same number because they are equivalent. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. What is 4 times 20? 80. Thank you to my friends that were raising your hand. So now my equivalent fraction is 80 hundredths. So I'm going to take that 80 hundredths and I can now turn that into a decimal. What do you think that decimal would look like if it's 80, saying our fraction out loud, 80 hundredths, what would the decimal look like, Gavin?
0.8.
So the 8 is in the tenths place, and if we put that 0 after, that's the hundredths place. We would call that decimal 80 hundredths. So as a fraction, it's 80 hundredths. As a decimal, it's 80 hundredths. Now, would I mark it wrong if you put 0.8? If the directions asked us to give it to the hundredths place, you'd have to put the 0 on so it goes to the hundredths place. But 8 tenths is the same value as 80 hundredths. So on the test, if you put 0.8, I would give you credit for that because it means the same value. Sometimes I just like to look at it as there's an 80 up here, so I need to put 80 after my decimal. Keep it simple, right? I get in the groove. If it's over 100, I can just take that numerator and put it right after that decimal place. So I have my decimal, my 2 decimals going out to the hundredth place. Joe?
Could I put 0.8?
We want to get in the habit of putting that 0 before the decimal, okay? It's proper math, capitals and periods when you're in ELA. Proper math. I'm not going to mark it wrong, but we want to get in the habit. So we're setting up good habits. So put it 0, then the decimal. That was a good question. What if, I'm going to do this one in blue. What if we have one, oh goodness. Let's see. I'm going to have to erase this one so I can write up here. So another example, just put it underneath it. But I had to erase so I could write. Now I have a mixed number, 1 1/4. What do you think my first step is going to be to turn that into a decimal? What should my first step be? Grayson?
Turn that into an improper fraction.
Oh, remember from that practice test, or not practice test, entrance exam we took, when we had whole numbers and fractions mixed together, we need to do something with it. We need to turn it improper. Take that mixed number and turn it improper. How do I make that into an improper fraction? Elliot?
You multiply the 1 by the 4, and then you add it to the 1 on top.
Denominator times your whole number. 4 times 1 is 4, plus your numerator. 4 plus 1 is 5. Denominator stays the same. Now I do that next step. What is the magic denominator that I want when I'm going from fraction to decimal? Avery. Clara.
100.
100. So I want my denominator to be 100. How did I go from 4 to 100, Madeline? I multiplied by 25. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So what is 5 times 25? Henry?
125.
125. So now I can turn that into my decimal. I have to be careful with this one. Because I said if it's over 100, what decimal place do I go to? Joe?
I don't know, 100.
I always go to the 100th place. This is 125 hundredths. So I've got my decimal here. I'm going to end at that hundredth place. What do you think my decimal's going to be? Ellie?
1.25.
Exactly. Our last number has to be in the hundredth place. One whole right here, one whole right here. Okay, so that whole number is going to go into that ones place. Or if it's a 10, we go to tens and the ones, right? So we have to put it into that stopping at the hundredth place because it's out of 100. Does that make sense? All right. Now decimal to fraction. I need to erase so I can scroll up. So we're gonna, with the decimal out of the hundredth place, write the decimal as a numerator of a fraction with a denominator of 100. Simplify if necessary. So that's the first thing you look for. Can I simplify my fraction? Simplify it and then go to 100. So, or simplify it at the end, sorry. So let's say our decimal is 0.36. What would my fraction look like? Finley?
3600.
Yeah, because we go to the hundredths place here, it would be 36 hundredths. Now what's our final step working with fractions? Henry?
Simplify.
Simplify, simplify, simplify. What can I divide out of 36 and 100? Joe? Clara?
2.
I can divide a 2 out. They are both whole numbers. Not whole numbers, even numbers. Whenever they're both even numbers, I know I can divide a 2 out. What's 36 divided by 2? Elliot?
18. Or 18.
18. What's 100 divided by 2? 50. Am I as low as I can go?
No.
No, because they're both even numbers. So what else can I divide out, Henry?
2 again. so
Another
9.
2. 18 divided by 200 said is 9. 50 divided by 2 is that 25. Can I go any smaller? Nope, that's as low as it goes. So that's how I go from a decimal to a fraction. Sometimes we might find that greatest common factor to divide out right away. We could have looked at 36 hundredths and said, well, I can divide a 4 out of both of them. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So sometimes you find that magic number right from the start. Sometimes you have to keep dividing down to get as simple as you can get. Let's do another example. Let's say that is my decimal. What do you think I should do? Laurel?
Turn it into a fraction.
How?
It's 40 hundredths and 4 hundredths.
So, hold on. What is that decimal? Is it? It is 4/10 right now. So what did you do in your head to turn it into 40 hundredths? So we want to make it look like it goes all the way to that hundredths place. Okay, so you have to put a 0 in the hundredths place. I'm just spelling out every step. You did it in your head, which is totally fine, but I'm spelling it out for the class. So we put a 0 after that 4 to turn it into the hundredths. So now I can go over my hundreds, and I've got the 40 here. What do I have to do as my final step? What do I do, Hunter?
Simplify.
Simplify. What can I divide out of 40 and 100? Could divide a 2 up. Could divide a 4 up. I can get even bigger. Colton?
20.
I could find the greatest common factor. You could divide 2 and 2. You can do that. Or if you find the biggest number you can divide out, Makes it easier just to do that one step. 40 divided by 20 is 2. 100 divided by 20 is 5. So if we did divided by 2 and we kept on simplifying down, 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 you'll get the exact same answer. So whether you simplify multiple times or you only have to do it the one time, as long as we get as low as we go, we will have same answers. Any questions on that? All right, so you will not be able to use a calculator on this section of the test, but you can check your answer on your homework. Did I do it right? By calculating the fraction, 3/5, that fraction bar is the operation of dividing. So you take your numerator, divide it by your denominator, and you'll get your decimal. You won't be able to use the calculator on the test, so you have to work it through this way. But you can check your answer as you're working to make sure you're doing it correctly. And that way, we know that we're doing it right. So for homework, you can check the answer. On the test, you won't be able to. So don't use the calculator until you're all done with it. Then you can go back and check it. Clara?
When you're gonna go check out your calculator, how do you make a fraction?
What operation did I say this?
So like,
So you would say 3 divided by 5. So on your calculator, that's what you would put in. You would put in 3 divided by 5. So the numerator divided by the 5. Okay? So let's look at our second page as our homework page. So let's turn to the second page. It says convert integers to fractions and decimals, decimals to a fraction, fractions to a decimal, show your work. So if it is an integer, you're going to have two answers. In integer, you're going to put both the decimal and the fraction. If it's already a fraction or a decimal, you flip it to the other one. But if it's an integer, you're going to have two answers to put. So let's look at 18. What fraction would I turn 18 into? Elliot?
1800.
So that would be the decimal. Yep. 0.18 going to that hundredth place. What would my fraction be? Emily?
1800.
So we use that 100 when we're working with decimals. When we have the integer, we want it to still be the value of 18. What do we throw under an integer, Gavin?
18/1.
Yeah, we put it over 1. So remember, that was the first one we worked on. To make it a decimal, oh wait, I wrote this wrong. Oh my goodness, I am going too fast. Don't go too fast. Who saw what was my mistake? What should it be? I wrote 0.18, and then I turned around and I'm like, 18 is not the same as 0.18. Oh my goodness. What mistake did I make? What should it have looked like? Madeline?
18.
Yes. 18.0. So remember, when we're working with that integer, we still want it to equal 18. So it would be just putting the 0.0 after it to make it a decimal, putting it over a 1 for the fraction. So if you have the integer, keep it that same integer value. Just put a decimal of 0 or a fraction over 1. Let's look at 3/4. 3/4 is a fraction, so I need to turn it into a decimal. What do I do to turn that into a decimal? Colton?
Multiply it to make the denominator 100.
What am I going to multiply it by? Colton?
25.
I'm going to multiply by 25. 4 times 25 is 100. What is 3 times 25? AJ?
75.
So now my fraction is 75 hundredths. How do I make that into a decimal? Ellen?
0.75.
0.75. Laura?
Never mind.
Trying to see if there's any one, if it's a negative number, make sure your answers, keep that negative with it. Right, negatives stay with them. Yeah. Remember, if it's a mixed number, turn it improper and then turn it into that decimal. Any questions on the top section? All right, let's look at our next section. It says match each fraction to its decimal value. So you're going to have to work it out. 3/10, I want to go to the hundredths, go from 10 to 100, I multiply by 10. 3 times 10 is 30, so 30 hundredths would be that. So sometimes we have the 0 on it, sometimes we don't. It's the same value. So you have to figure it out for each number and then draw the line to what it connects to, what it's the same value of. Any questions on the bottom? All right, so we are working on that second page is our homework. First page was all notes, second page is homework. Make sure you get that whole page done. If you don't get it done in class, it is homework to do tonight. If you do get it done in class and we have extra time, pull out your math packet and be working on the math packet. If people don't have questions, I might run through some of the math packet pages to answer questions for the whole class. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. I forgot to stop it in the last class.